Right, we just started. Already there's breaking news.
Arsenal were left seething after yet another controversial VAR decision went against them, as they were denied what many described as a blatant penalty in their Premier League clash against Brighton. The moment has quickly become one of the most talked about incidents of the weekend, reigniting widespread anger over the use, consistency, and credibility of VAR in English football. The flashpoint came during a crucial phase of the match when Arsenal were pressing hard for a breakthrough. An Arsenal attacker drove into the Brighton penalty area, using quick footwork to beat his marker before being clearly impeded by a Brighton defender. There was visible contact, no touch on the ball, and the Arsenal player was sent tumbling to the turf. Instantly, arms were raised, the crowd roared, and players surrounded the referee, convinced that a penalty was inevitable. Instead, play was waved on. Even more astonishingly, VAR chose not to intervene. Despite multiple replays showing significant contact inside the box, the officials deemed the incident not worthy of a review, leaving Arsenal players and supporters stunned. Inside the stadium, disbelief quickly turned into fury as fans watched the replay unfold on the big screen, only to see no correction made. For a club like Arsenal, currently fighting on multiple fronts and needing every possible point, the decision felt devastating. Penalties can change games, and moments like this can define seasons. Arsenal had built momentum, were dominating possession, and looked the more threatening side. The denied penalty not only robbed them of a clear scoring opportunity but also disrupted their rhythm and belief. Mikel Arteta cut a frustrated figure on the touchline. The Arsenal manager repeatedly gestured in disbelief, clearly questioning how the decision could stand. While careful with his words after the match, Arteta hinted strongly at his dissatisfaction, pointing to clear inconsistency in refereeing standards. He referenced similar incidents in other Premier League matches that had resulted in penalties, questioning why Arsenal's appeal was treated differently. The reaction from pundits and former players was even more scathing. Several analysts unanimously agreed that Arsenal should have been awarded a penalty. Slow-motion replays showed the Brighton defender missing the ball entirely and making direct contact with the attacker's leg. According to the laws of the game, it was a foul and a clear one. The phrase clear and obvious error, often cited as VAR's threshold for intervention, was repeatedly used by commentators who struggled to justify the official's decision. For Brighton, the decision proved a major turning point. Brighton and Hove Albion weathered Arsenal's pressure and gradually grew into the game, buoyed by the escape. While they cannot be blamed for a refereeing call beyond their control, the sense that fortune had favored them was impossible to ignore. The controversy overshadowed much of their performance and dominated the narrative long after the final whistle. Arsenal supporters, both inside the stadium and online, reacted with outrage. Social media was flooded with screenshots, video clips, and comparisons to similar incidents that had resulted in penalties elsewhere. Many fans argued that Arsenal have repeatedly been on the wrong end of VAR decisions this season, fueling a growing perception that calls rarely fall in their favor. Chants aimed at officials echoed around the ground, while hashtags calling for reform trend long after the match ended. This incident has once again raised serious questions about the effectiveness of VAR in the Premier League. Introduced to reduce human error and improve fairness, VAR continues to deliver confusion and controversy. The lack of transparency around decision-making, particularly why certain incidents are reviewed while others are ignored, remains a major source of frustration for clubs and fans alike. One of the most damaging aspects of this decision is its inconsistency with previous rulings. Throughout the season, far softer challenges have resulted in penalties, often after VAR intervention. Arsenal's appeal, by contrast, involved clear contact, no touch on the ball, and obvious obstruction the very definition of a foul inside the box. The failure to apply the same standard only deepens mistrust in the system. Beyond the immediate result, decisions like this can have long-term consequences. Title races, European qualification, and relegation battles are frequently decided by the finest of margins. When clear errors influence results, the integrity of the competition is called into question. For Arsenal, dropped points caused by officiating mistakes could prove costly as the season reaches its decisive stages. There is also a psychological toll. Players begin to hesitate, unsure whether legitimate appeals will be rewarded. Managers are forced to bite their tongues to avoid punishment, even as frustration builds week after week. Fans, meanwhile, grow increasingly cynical, believing outcomes are being shaped by inconsistency rather than performance on the pitch. The Premier League has previously acknowledged errors and even issued apologies in some cases, but for many supporters, that is no longer enough. Apologies do not restore points, reverse results, or erase the damage done. Arsenal's denied penalty against Brighton will now be added to a growing list of controversial decisions cited whenever the debate around VAR resurfaces. As calls for greater accountability grow louder, pressure continues to mount on refereeing bodies to improve clarity, consistency, and communication. Whether through clearer explanations, live audio, or structural reform, many believe significant change is needed if confidence in VAR is to be restored. For now, Arsenal are left to reflect on what might have been another match where the spotlight shifted from football to officiating. And once again, VAR finds itself at the center of a storm, accused of failing the very purpose it was introduced to serve.